Joining us now, a man who was on scene to receive the terrorists, Sebastian Gorka, Deputy Assistant to the President, Senior Director for Counterterrorism at the National Security Council. Sir, good to have you back with us.
Wonderful to be back with you, Vince, and congratulations. We get Dan inside the FBI headquarters, and you get the prime slot. Congratulations, Dan. Congratulations, Vince. Well deserved.
Thank you very much for that. I really appreciate it. That means a lot coming from you, Dr. Gorka. So, what can you tell us? What was that like receiving this terrorist overnight last night?
Utterly, completely surreal, because I was in a secure location watching the president make the statement you just played, and then I got in a vehicle and drove to Dulles Airport, and I waited there with about 100 federal agents, analysts, support staff, local law enforcement, and we waited for the DOJ plane to land. And it was quite something to be there, 3 a.m. in the morning, on the apron, on the tarmac, with none other than my good friend Kash Patel, with the Attorney General Pam Bondi, with the Director for National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard, with the DCI John Ratcliffe, who weren't sitting at home, weren't sleeping, weren't even in their offices. They were with us in the cold, waiting for this monstrous killer who took the lives of 13 of our bravest war fighters. And then we walked up onto the plane. We saw this piece of human filth, and he was processed into the United States. The Department of Justice released the filing documents that anyone can read right now. And then I decided to do one extra thing. It surprised me, but I was so glad. The intelligence community analysts who had tracked this killer, this monster, this murderer, were with us there, and I said, you deserve to see the person you helped catch. So I escorted them one by one up onto the DOJ jet, and I let them see the man that they had helped capture. And the most important thing here is President Trump and the National Security Advisor Mike Waltz, the first ever Green Beret to hold that position, made a promise to the families, and last night that promise was kept and justice was served for the Abbey Gate 13 martyrs.
So let's begin with who this person is, so people have some understanding of why this is such an important capture. Who is this man known as Mohammad Sharifullah?
So Mohammad Sharifullah, who went by the nom de guerre of Jafar, wasn't just somebody who's a member of ISIS or somebody who was a low-level operative involved in that suicide attack. President Trump hates using this word because, you know, it has a certain positive ring to it, but he was the mastermind behind the Abbey Gate attack. But not only that, he has been behind multiple, we call him the ex-ops chief, so he's behind multiple external operations for ISIS in multiple countries, regions of the world. This is a deadly individual, and just taking him out, just this one person being behind bars for the rest of his life, makes Americans, our partners, our allies safer, because this isn't just a bit part player. This is a senior Islamic State external operations leader, and he will not be planning any terrorist attacks against anyone else for the rest of his life.
Seeing some of the images of what you saw overnight, the photographs that have been captured, shared in part to the New York Post, I'm seeing that the FBI agents who were escorting the terrorist off the plane, and when I say escorting, dragging him off the plane, they've got their faces covered, and even their eyes are blurred in the FBI release. This suggests to me that we're not dealing with a lightweight here, that this is a serious person, and the lives of the people who are involved in capturing him and bringing him here on the line should they be disclosed.
Yeah, there was a moment when the SWAT team, the HRT team, the people in the camouflage gear and the plate carriers from the Bureau got on the plane, and they pulled up their balaclavas, and they made their features imperceptible because, these are images that will go down in history. Let me be very frank with you, Vince, you're a friend of mine. I'm not Senate confirmed as the head of counterterrorism, so I walked into the White House at 12:01 on January the 20th. I have a skiff in which I work, a secure compartmented information facility, but I'm old school. And I wrote at the top of a whiteboard in my facility one letter, the letter J, and that was for Jafar. And I said, my team, on behalf of the president, Mike Waltz, we are going to move heaven and earth to get the man behind the Abbey Gate bombing. I did not expect that with President Trump's incredible leadership, we could turn the intelligence community's ship of state with Tulsi, with John, with Cash, with Pam, and 42 days later, I would be staring into the eyes of this devil on the plane, on the tarmac at Dallas. And that's what happened at 3 a.m. this morning.
When you walk in at 12:01 on January 20th and you write that J down, that means that we've been aware for a time that this guy exists and he's worth capturing. Why did it take this long for it to occur? Why did it take just over a month into the Trump administration to finally capture this guy?
Well, this is where you realize, why a certain senator from Illinois made that statement that elections matter. They matter so much for all kinds of things and not just the price of eggs. In the first 2 weeks of the administration, I went from, very important parts of the DOD, the intelligence community, and I heard the same refrain again and again and again. We have been surveilling and watching and tracking jihadis for 4 years. And the Biden White House, the Harris White House refused to let us take action. I mean, think about what that does to your morale. You're in a basement watching a screen from 6 in the evening till 6 in the morning, watching jihadis plan to hurt Americans, and you're not allowed to actually take action. Well, 9 days into the administration, we told the president, Mike Waltz walked into the Oval Office with an operational plan to take out a massive ISIS camp in northern Somalia. When the president heard we've been watching them for a year and a half, he looked out from the Resolute desk at Mike Waltz and says, kill them. With his iconic Sharpie pen, he picked the go box on the operational orders. Less than 30 hours later, myself, Mike, and my team were in the Situation Room under the West Wing, and we were watching the footage live as hell was being rained down on that ISIS encampment, an encampment that the Biden administration had been surveilling for more than a year and a half. It's what decisiveness looks like. It's what peace through strength looks like. It's what America first looks like. And that's down to one man, President Trump, who has the mandate of 77 million Americans.
Sebastian Gorka, what happens now to Jafar? Where does he go, and what will his fate be, in your estimation?
Well, God willing, if the jury finds him to be guilty, you can read the indictment document that the Deputy AG Emil Bove released to me at 2 a.m. It's out there on the net. He has already confessed when the FBI fly team went out to Islamabad. He has confessed to Abbey Gate and other attacks. He will be charged with material support to terrorism, potentially other charges as well. And hopefully, God willing, in front of a jury of his peers, he will be found guilty. And the rest is history. And Americans, our allies, our partners will be safer.
I believe, maybe I'm wrong, I think the president said he thanked Pakistan last night in the speech, that they were cooperative in helping us capture this guy. Can you give us some sense of what that means?
Yeah, this was such an important moment because in difficult regions of the world, such as the Af-Pak border where Sharifullah was apprehended, you need help, you need partners, you need friends, and our exquisite intelligence capabilities. I'm not going to mention who, but if you're listening, you know who you are because you were on the tarmac with me this morning. They provided a certain amount of specific information to our counterterrorism colleagues in Islamabad, and they went into hyperdrive. They located Sharifullah. They informed us, and last weekend the FBI flew out there, interviewed him, and he confessed. So it was absolutely classical counterterrorism cooperation, the likes of which keeps everyone safe, citizens of this country and citizens of other countries who have been racked by terrorism.
I believe it was a week ago today that I think I saw you at the White House, and it was then I interviewed. It seems like so long ago, but it was, I think, just a week ago. And National Security Council spokesman Brian Hughes sat down with me, and I had asked him at the time whether or not he feels we are safer now than we were 2 months ago as a country, and his answer was a definite yes, that we're in a much safer position than we were 2 months ago, but there's still a lot of threats out there. How do you view it?
Just look at the stats. I think Brian, we love Brian, my colleagues, James Hewitt on the NSC comms team, Caroline, Stephen Chung, everybody else, Taylor. We have neutralized more than 24 jihadis in just the first couple of weeks of the Trump administration. And it's not just about the counterterrorism mission. I mean, Tom Homan, I see Tom Homan everywhere when I'm going in and out of the West Wing. Yeah. Tom Homan, along with, Secretary Noem, along with Pete Hegseth, it is an empirical fact this nation is safer. Simply because, look, we had leadership back in the White House. When the president says, what, you're plotting attacks against Americans, kill that man. Or when Homan and Hegseth go, think of that one iconic image. When in American history has a White House immigration official been photographed on the border with the new Secretary of Defense? Never. What does that tell you? We are serious about protecting America. We're Americans here, Americans abroad, sealing the border, just the figures for what is it, the 98% drop in illegal border crossings, that in and of itself has made us all safer, Vince.
Finally, on that issue, given your role in counterterrorism, I'm curious about the cartels and how you assess the threat that they pose, because obviously the Trump administration has declared the cartels in Mexico to be terror organizations. What is your assessment of their ability to inflict chaos in the country?
Well, look, let's just talk about the facts of the matter. I did this for my Newsmax show a year ago. I just said, let's do the math. How many Americans have died in uniform since the end of hostilities in 1945? So since the end of World War II, so if you add up Korea, Vietnam, Gulf I, Gulf II, Afghanistan, Iraq, 103,000 Americans have died in uniform in 75 years. Under the Biden administration, every 12 months, 110,000 Americans were killed by overdoses of fentanyl and other drugs the cartels brought into this nation. So more people killed in a year, thanks to the open border policies of Harris and Biden, than in 75 years of war. So this is why the president took this decision. That's why Stephen Miller, his deputy, Tony Salisbury, are utterly forward-leaning in making sure that these deaths stop and that the cartels are neutralized in a fashion that saves American lives.
Yeah. And do you really think, I saw that in your Times report, that the cartels are running scared right now? But I talked to Ken Cuccinelli earlier this week, and he's worried that might be a Mexican deep state operation with the New York Times designed to try and, shake the U.S. pursuit away and say, oh, they're scared, so it's fine now. What do you think is going on with the cartels? Are they running scared of the Trump administration right now?
Let me quote a fellow legal immigrant to the United States, America's favorite African immigrant. I was coming out of the Eisenhower building on the way to the West Wing, and I saw Mr. Musk. I said, Mr. Musk. He recognized me, and he said, so what's the biggest threat to America in terms of counterterrorism, Mr. CT? And I said, open borders for the last 4 years. And he said, that sounds right. And then I said to him, but don't worry, because we've got Tom Homan. And he just looked at me and said, I love that guy.
Me too.
Straight out of Central Casting. When we've got people like Tom, like Secretary Noem, Pete Hegseth, I mean, our enemies are afraid, and they should be, because President Trump is the commander-in-chief, and he has the A team protecting America.
Yeah, you're working around some really cool people. Thank you very much, Sebastian Gorka, as always, the Senior Director for Counterterrorism at the National Security Council. Nice to talk to you today, sir.
God bless. God bless. Well done, Vince.
Thank you, Sebastian.